Good morning, students. Already we have started first module entitled Oral Skills. The skills which are divided into two parts, oral and written communication. Spoken and written language which is suitable for oral and written communication. For oral, there is a spoken language, and for written, there is a written communication. Spoken language has its own features. When we speak with each other, naturally, there is a use of the body language. There is a facial expression. There is use of the other organs of our body which are communicating with the listener. So, naturally, there are some features of the spoken language or oral communication. The first feature is repetitiveness. When we speak with each other, we share some ideas, some opinions, some information, and at that time, we try to repeat some sentences, some words, some expressions, because we want to attract the attention of the listener, first thing. Similarly, we want to focus on some part of our communication, and hence there is a repetitiveness which doesn't make you tiresome. Just it attracts the attention. The second feature of the oral communication or spoken language is contracted forms. Mostly in our oral communication, when we speak face to face, naturally, we use contracted forms. Contracted forms means what? That is, we use the short forms. And these short forms are which are known to each other, that is, speaker and the listener, very familiar with the contracted forms. When we want to use the word do not, instead of do not, we use don't. This don't is the contracted form of the do not. Similarly, lots of words have such contracted forms, and in our spoken language, we use the contracted forms. So, the spoken language has its characteristic entitled as contracted forms. Use of the tone unit boundary. When we communicate, when we try to express something in face to face, naturally, there is a tone unit boundary. That is, when you are angry, your sound is making use of higher. Similarly, when you are happy, at that time your sound is very different. And when you want to say that there is a comma, there is a semicolon, or there is a full stop, naturally, it is in written language, but in our spoken language, we take a pause. And such type of the system is called as tone unit boundary in the spoken language. Because of that, the listener can easily understand what the speaker wants to say. The next feature of the oral communication or spoken language is simple structure. We generally speak in very simple structure of the language. There is no complex structure because speaker does like to understand by the listener what he wants to say. That's why very simple words, simple sentence structures are used in the spoken communication or spoken language. Another use of the feature in oral communication is that ellipsis. Ellipsis, what does it mean by? Ellipsis, that is, when there is the exclusion of the shared ideas. When the speaker and the listener are very familiar and intimate with each other, they are known about what the speaker does know and what the listener does know. That's why the shared ideas are not repeatedly used. Instead of that, there is a use of or the start of their communication by forgetting whatever they are going to speak, but they are very useful for each other and they try to share very new ideas which depend upon the known ideas or the old ideas, and hence there is ellipsis. It is called ellipsis. Ellipsis at word level, ellipsis at sentence level, ellipsis at the expressions, ellipsis at whatever the known ideas or the thoughts for both of them. So exclusion of shared ideas, this is called ellipsis. Another feature of the spoken language is that use of body language. Always we do use the body language, and naturally it is very supportive for the listener and the speaker whatever he wants to tell. So this body language, in which includes our facial expressions, our use of the hand or whatever the body organ that you are going to use. When your eyebrows are really going high, it suggests that you are angry and you are not going to adjust with whatever the speaker is stating. So use of such type of the body language is very supportive for the oral communication. Another feature of the spoken language is that monitoring feature and inexplicitness. Monitoring feature, that is generally always the speaker tries to monitor the listener, because speaker wants to express and it should be understood by the listener, and that's why he tries to monitor, because also he wants to listen whatever he likes to say, so it should be listened by the listener. He expects it, and that's why he tries to monitor. Similarly, inexplicitness is another feature, that is, it does mean there is no explicitness, there is no vast explanation, because of known ideas are shared, and that's why it is not explicitness. If the communication of the two, the speaker and the listener, heard by the third person, that he doesn't understand what they are speaking, so it is called inexplicitness. Another feature of this spoken language is lack of clear sentence boundaries. In our written communication, we have the punctuation marks, and these punctuation marks are really stating the clear sentence boundaries. When you start the sentence, it starts with the capital letter in our English. When we finish the sentence, naturally there is a full stop. When you want to focus, you use the inversion for the quotation or for such type of the sentence. So lots of there are punctuation marks we use only for to make it clear what does you want to state and what is the boundary. So lack of clear sentence boundary, which is not in the spoken language. When you are speaking with somebody else, and at that time if you want, or if you have stopped or completed the sentence, you do not say full stop, as we have in our written language, but it is not in spoken language. So there is no any clear sentence boundary, just there is a tone unit boundary. Only because of the tone we can understand there is a full stop or there is a beginning of the sentence. Another feature of the spoken language is normal non-fluency. Always, especially in the elocution competitions, students who are not fluent, and that's why their fluency, where there is a normal non-fluency, such sounds that you are using repeatedly, only because of that it is the feature of the normal non-fluency. So we have this type of the characteristic of spoken language. And the last one, that is the interaction. In the spoken language, there is the interaction between the speaker and the listener. Speaker can understand whether it is understood by the listener only because of his reactions. That is, there is a interaction, and hence the communication is going forward among the speaker and the listener. That's why interaction is the feature of the spoken language. And the last one, that is, it is informal. Generally, there is a informality in the communication, in the oral communication between the speaker and the listener. It is going to happen naturally with the spoken language, but we don't have such type of the features of written communication. There are some features of the written communication which are different from that spoken language or spoken communication or oral communication. So first feature of the written communication is it is non-repetitiveness. See this? Oral language where there is the repetitiveness, because generally the speaker tries to repeat some words, some expressions, some sentences to focus upon that part of the sentence or that part of the expression. But writer doesn't have this facility, because once he stated, it is concrete. It is concrete. Because of this, there is no repetitiveness in the written communication. The second feature of the written communication is that clear sentence boundaries. We have seen in the spoken there is no clear sentence boundary, but we have in the written communication there are clear sentence boundaries for the sentences. Naturally, next one is explicitness. Spoken language is inexplicit while the written language is explicit. Quite clear ideas are written by the writer because there is a distance between the writer and the reader. As there is no distance between the speaker and the listener, but here is the distance out of which the writer has to make it clear, and hence there is a explicitness. In the written communication, another feature is complex structure. In the oral communication, there is a simple structure, but in the written communication, there are clauses within clauses, sentences within sentences, and naturally it becomes the complex. But in the written communication, there is a fluency of the ideas, and it is possible for the writer because there is no any hurdle for the expression. There is no monitoring and interaction feature as it exists in the oral language or oral communication, and our written communication is very formal because there is a formality between the writer and the reader. Writer doesn't know who would be the readers are, as a speaker does know who would be the listeners are. Similarly, it is not possible for the writer, and that's why he is going to keep the distance among them, and because of that distance there is the formality. So in this first unit, special features of the spoken and written communication already we have seen. To what you can say oral communication or oral skills. It is a skill actually. You have to acquire this here. And in this oral skill, the first is oral presentation, and this oral presentation is possible so many times. Not only day-to-day communication, oral communication in the family or in the public or wherever you are, it is not, definitely not at all like this. We have to underline here the speaker and the listener's relationship. Now, speaker and listener's relationship, what does it mean? If the speaker and listener are very close, intimate friends, then their relationship which represents they are careless, they are informal in the use of the language. So, the language used in the spoken communication or oral communication, it depends upon the relationship of the speaker and the listener, and similarly the formal and informal situation. If the situation is informal, then language is very different. If the situation is formal, then we are very much formal in the expression. So in the oral presentation, there is the most important point, the relationship and the situation which makes the speaker or the listener use of the language. The effective and impressive presentation needs are preparation, planning, execution. See this? If you want to impress the others in the here, listeners or the readers, naturally you have to prepare yourself. After preparation, then you can present yourself, whether the oral or the written presentation. But you should be prepared. Without preparation, there is no possibility of your effective and impressive presentation. For this preparation, you should plan how to say, when to say, and what to say. And in this planning, you can present yourself. And this planning should be executed exactly in the actual performance. So, factors on which effectiveness depends. It is your confidence, your language competency, your speed of the language, your body language, your relevance of that topic, clarity and audibility. See this? When you speak clearly and when your sound is audible to the listener, definitely it creates its effect and naturally it is impressive. So voice modulation you should know, and there should be sincerity. With these, we can present effectively whatever you want to present. There are only just three parts in the oral presentation that we are going to study here. And this oral presentation through first point is comparing. When there is the program in your college, naturally somebody is trying to anchor, trying to compare. What does it mean by comparing? That is to conduct a program. Compare conducts the program, and this compare introduces different events and persons in the program. A link between the item presented and the performance. So naturally it is the comparing. So understand the nature of the program. Without understanding, suddenly you do not compare. Naturally, it is the skill definitely. And if anybody does have, but he is at 11th hour not going to anchoring or comparing the program. He has to understand the nature of the program. He has to know the people involved in that program. He does know the basics of the events or that program. He should be able to understand the changes of the program. Be ready for that unexpected changes, and language abilities for comparing are very much necessary because you want your impression, your effectiveness of the comparing. So the first oral presentation is comparing. In the comparing, you have to greet and the welcome of the people, in which you have to introduce the audience, the speaker, whoever present in that program. Request and invite. This is most important point for the comparing, because without requesting and inviting, there won't be any activity without declaration of this request and the invitation. If anything there mistaken, you should apologize, and even whatever the appreciative part, you should compliment, and naturally at that time in the comparing you should use the quotations for effective comparing. And concluding section, where there you should be effectively conclude the program. Naturally beginning and the end we do have the national anthem. So for all these things you should write the script of the comparing. What is the necessity? Preparation, right? In the preparation you should write the script of the comparing. The second type of the oral presentation is PowerPoint presentation. First comparing, second PowerPoint presentation, and in the PowerPoint presentation naturally both ways, oral and written communication, both of these two are useful here and presented in the PowerPoint presentation. For the PowerPoint presentation you should select the slide, then color for the slide, then font for the slide, then its size. Be simple generally in your slide selection. Use of the audio and video in the slide. I have tried here use of the audio and video in this slide. See this. Just example from the textbook actually I have taken.
Celebration of Commerce Day in your college. It is an example for copying. The copier says, a very warm good morning to everyone. I welcome you all on behalf of the Department of English on this auspicious occasion of celebration of Commerce Day. We all have gathered here to celebrate one of the departmental events. Like every year, this year also, we are celebrating Commerce Day. Now I request Professor Mahavar to introduce the program to all the students present here. Announcement second. Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. Patil.
Got it? You might understood. It is an example of comparing. So in the PowerPoint presentation, this skill also useful because in the PowerPoint presentation, written and oral communications are there. There are some do's and don'ts. For the PowerPoint presentation, we have to use these methods. Select the slide, color for the slide, select the font, its size, be simple in the slide selection, use of audio and video, limit bullet points and text. Just only the points you should mention there. Do not write full sentences, do not write passages, just bullets with the text. Limited animation should be there. Use good quality graphics and use appropriate charts. PowerPoint presentation is mixture of oral and written communication. So how to prepare PPT? First thing, you have to choose the slide and this slide for the title of the presentation and name with designation and address of the presenter. Second, use the bullets, tables, charts for data. Not complete the data that you have to present, but just you can use such type of the tools. Bullet, it is the tool to focus upon it. Tables in which we can present systematically the data. Similarly, charts also we can use to represent the data. Every slide should have title. If required, carry forward the title you can. Interweaving. The third part, see this, first part we have seen comparing, second PowerPoint presentation, and third interviewing the great or famous personalities. In all these three types of the oral communication, we should be confident. Definitely our language competency is here examined by the listener or the audience or the reader. So we should be confident and competent in the use of the language. Now, in the interviewing the great famous personalities, the interviewer and the interviewee, these two words are most important. Interviewer, that is, who is going to ask the questions, and to whom the questions are asked, to this person is called interviewee. So, there is a question answer session between the interviewer and interviewee. So, for this interviewer and interviewee, especially for the interviewer, there are some do's and the don'ts. Do's, that is what to do, and don'ts means what not to do. In the do's, we can say know your guest. Interviewee and interviewer relationship here. Actually, there is no personal relation, there is no family relation. It is the family on public or official way that we can try to interview the person, great person. So interviewer should know what the position and what the status of the interviewee, because without this knowing, without this understanding, interviewer can't ask the question. Because of that, you should, that is interviewer should know the guest, that is the interviewee. Then you should know the purpose of the interview. Otherwise, you can't frame the questions. You should have your framing the questions. That is a set of the questions you should have before starting the interview. Otherwise, you can't the properly questions. Again, another do, that is you can ask right questions. If your question is wrong, then it will be irritable for the interviewee. So your question should be right. Then you should be friendly with the interviewee. This is most important. Keep the smile on your face. Keep that you are intimate with this fellow and he doesn't react in a negative way. Because of that, you should keep this way. So you should have the list of the questions and set the time for interview. These are some do's for the interview. There are some don'ts of the interviewing great person. These are don't ask personal questions. Always remember in your mind that you won't tiresome him, you won't irritate him, you won't make him angry by asking your questions. So don't ask his personal questions. You are meeting here on official level. That's why don't be personal. You should be impersonal. Don't distract attention. This is most important. You don't make hurdlesome for the interview. Don't use offensive words. The words you are framing with the questions, naturally these words should be gentle, should be sober. It won't be offensive for the interviewee. Don't make awkward to him. Don't ask such a question that it will make him awkward. Not at all. Because it will affect your interview. Don't criticize the interviewee. You have no any right to criticize him. Don't forget to introduce the interviewee. This is most important actually. You should introduce to the audience who he is because of that greatness you are going to interview him. So with this I would like to tell you the homework, and the homework is that prepare a script for comparing on the occasion of welcome of new students or freshers in your college. It is about the comparing. Second, make PPT on parts of speech. It is for PPT. And the third, conduct an interview of your college principal. Okay? With these words, I would like to say thank you.